It was just on the top of my head.
Yes, I know. No,
Gotcha.
I will talk, I will,
We'll talk about it.
and I think it's going to be.
Not me. Not me.
If he's here, I don't know if it's going to get here.
Is it almost that? It's almost that time.
It is. Who? Is he supposed to be here?
Prayer for your last time. Pledges. Okay. Thank you.
Seconds.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Where's Howard?
Huh?
Where's Howard?
I don't know. We don't need him this hard. We about ready? All right. Yes, we are almost there. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. All right. The time is 6:30. We'll call this meeting to order. Mr. Dahl, would you like to lead us in the invocation?
Please bow your heads. Lord, I pray for everybody's safety tonight as we've had a lot of storms, as well as I pray for the country as currently we are going through a lot of turmoil. There's a lot of unhappiness, and I pray for the emergency first responders that are dealing with these situations. I also pray for beyond our borders, reaching out to our neighbors, that the turmoil in those countries has also subsided. Bless our law enforcement, bless our military and our first responders. And Lord, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Lorna?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the Texas pledge. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, as I say in every meeting we have up here, the rules of decorum are in effect. One thing that was left off of the agenda, it's an error that we all make sometimes as a human being. We sometimes get something that gets left off. We are having citizens' comments. If you did not see that, that was not printed on the agenda. Do we have any citizens' comments for tonight? Okay, if we don't have any, then citizens' comments are closed for the evening. All right, moving on to number 4, the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. Action regarding the minutes of April 28, 2021, accepting the resignation of Mr. Daniel Tucker from the Planning and Zoning Commission, and a resolution denying Oncor the proposed rate increase. All right, I will entertain a motion unless there's any council member that would like to move one of those off the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Show that unanimous. All right, moving on to number 5.1, discussion and action regarding a resolution canvassing the returns of the general election held on May 21st, 2021 for the purpose of electing 3 council members for place 1, place 3, and place 5 to serve a 2-year term. Ms. Shelley?
Yes, sir. I have received certification from Crystal Inch, who is our elections administrator, who has confirmed the numbers we have are correct. For place 1, we have Lorna Kippett, who ran unopposed and received 364 votes. For council member place 3, Paul Patrick Day received 166 votes. Trudy Wessner received 248 votes. Council member place 5, Val Bogart received 114 votes, and Daniel Tucker received 291 votes.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution concerning the canvassing of the returns for the general election.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we approve the canvas as written.
Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, show that unanimous. All right, next thing we're going to move on to is 5.2. Mr. William Dahl is a member of our council up here. He is an outgoing member, and he wishes to make some comments before he leaves after his final time with us. Mr. Dahl?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, actually, I just want to say thank you to everybody. You know, this experience has been wonderful. It's been great. We've accomplished a lot of things, especially with the fire department. One of the things that we ran on was to be able to produce a stable fire department. And right now, with the dedication of our staff, the dedication of the team, the leadership of not only the staff, but in our fire department and the leadership of this council, I am very proud of what we've done with the fire department. It's been quite an achievement, and I'm really happy for it. Hang on one second. Actually, that was the majority of what I wanted to say. No, I'm just happy. I'm happy for all the support that was being given to me over the years. I'm happy for all the members of the community who reached out to me. Everybody's involvement. I want to congratulate all the candidates. I'm also I do enjoy to see how healthy that our elective process is. We have a lot of people that want to have a lot of community engagement, and it makes me feel good to notice that we have a community out here that is actively involved, wants to be involved, and wants to see our town in the best shape it could possibly be. So I want to just thank everybody for the experience. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, well, on behalf of the council and the city, we want to thank you for giving us this opportunity for you to serve with us.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, now, the next thing we're going to do, actually, I'll have William will actually be coming out into the audience, and I will have the newly elected or ongoing officials that will be staying in those positions from place 1, place 3, and place 5. Please come up to the front. JP Mark Russo will be swearing them in. He is here present with us tonight. If you have any family or friends that are here because you're being sworn in, have them come up with you. Okay? All of you.
Solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of City Council Member, Place 5, state of Texas, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and of this state. So help me God. Congratulations. All right. Lauren, you want to come up now? Yes. Swap out Bible. All right, swap out.
Dan, you get to come up here now.
You don't have your seat.
Come around.
Repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of City Council Member Place One of the state of Texas, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and of this state. So help me God. Congratulations. And finally, True Western. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of City Council Member Place Three of the state of Texas, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States and of this state. So help me God. Congratulations. This prayer, may I do my usual prayer?
Yes, she may.
Thank you. If you would please pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, as we bless these new leaders in their roles, so we grant their wisdom and providence, and Father, that they make the decisions coming out to you. Father, we ask you to bless the city, that as we grow, that we get to know you, Father. I ask that you bless William as he begins his journey with this council, that he still comes back, and that, Father, we still guide him in everything he does. Father, I just ask you to bless the whole entire council, and I ask this in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The next thing we're going to move on to will be to review the applicants for Council Member Place Two vacancy. Ms. Lorna, do you have the names? We don't have them written down
I
right
do.
here.
There you go.
All right. You know what? My mom and dad will be very proud of me because I'm going to do something that we don't see a lot of young men doing nowadays. Ladies first. Ms. Birdsong. I understand there were 3 questions that we asked, so that we had sent you and each of the other council members. So if you want to get up, introduce yourself, and then, give us the questions and then the answers that you have to them. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Brooke Birdsong. I am, for the first question is, who are you? What is your perspective that you think you will bring to the council? So there's 2 answers for me for this. First and foremost, I'm a mother. I'm a local resident, and we recently moved to Brushy Creek. And I'm a property tax paying resident in McLendon-Chisholm, so I think that perspective is one. And then the other is I have a background in HR in corporate America. Been doing that for about 20 years. And so as an organization, we're talking about employees and companies, we're always looking at what's the employee value proposition. Are we providing a space where employees don't just come in the door, but how do we make them stay and thrive and grow? And I don't think that's necessarily dissimilar to something when you're looking at residents and city budgets and things like that. So those are that's really the perspective that I bring. The mandatory time commitment of 1 year, 2 meetings per month, and special meetings as needed. Yes, I would be able to commit to that. And And the last question is, what do you feel is the biggest challenge facing McLendon-Chisholm today? So I haven't been here very long, but my husband did attend the meeting last night, and I don't know that our challenges are, dissimilar to some of our local communities nearby, but it's generally are those values that bring our residents here. Are we able to maintain them while also managing things like the water supply and things that, we know that we need constant improvement on? So I think it's really just balancing those things. So thanks you guys for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right. Now, sometimes it's hard for me to read people's handwriting, and sometimes it's just hard for me to pronounce names. Tom, how do you pronounce your last name?
Ritz.
Oh, okay, so it's Rich.
Just forget the
Okay.
H.
Just want to make sure, because I don't like butchering people. Tom, you're next.
First of all, I'm a refugee from the People's Republic of California. I've only been here about 3 years, and I really haven't got much chance to let people know what I'm all about. I go to the meetings and that kind of thing, but that's about it. I'm retired, so I can answer the second question first. That's easy. I got all the time in the world. Well, the other question is, why do I want to take on a job? Doesn't pay anything, it's a lot of work, and it's political, and that means that you're going to make enemies and all that kind of stuff, but that's life. Well, I think I'm qualified because, well, let's start back when I was in 8th grade. I had a nun who decided that there's a special private boys' school, and they were having their entrance exam. And I wanted to go to that school because it had a very good reputation. So she taught us a little algebra. I went in and I took the exam, and I asked my dad, hey, can I go there? He says, only if you win a scholarship. So you had to win a scholarship. And I thought, well, okay, I'll just do the best I can. Turns out I did win one, which was nice. And then my dad said, well, it's only for 1 year, so that means you're going to work for me. He was a contractor. So I worked as a wood butcher. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's a carpenter. And so I got into construction, and in between, earning money for school, I earned the ability to pay my own way, and I was working in a very highly unionized area, which was really something very enlightening to me. I still don't think an awful lot about unions because the standard of excellence tends to be what the least you can do. And I was never like that. So anyway, when I was going to after I graduated, I wanted to go to college, but, my dad didn't have money. I was one of 6 kids. And he said, well, you need to get another scholarship. Well, I did. And so I was able to get a degree. Math, with a emphasis on statistics and math and physics. And so right out of school, I taught high school math for 3 years. That was nice, but we had our first daughter, and I realized not enough money in teaching. So I went to my local aerospace company. And the rest of my career was in aerospace. I programmed computers. And that was really fun because you get a job that you like to do. And you were good at it. And so that's what I did. And as things happened, I moved into management. And so in the process, I realized that I really ought to learn a little bit more about management. So I took, while I was working 40 and 50 hours a week, I got an MBA. Took me 3 years. And I didn't have much time for anything else. You know, go to class, study, go to have the other things. Anyway, that's what I did. And so I've had experience in management. I managed computer programmers. You know, it's kind of like herding cats. And they were really some different kind of people. And anyway, near the end, they needed somebody who needed to work with the stealth people. And so I stepped out of management because I always liked the technical stuff because I was always good at it. So I worked on the B-2, the F-18, and a bunch of things. I was at McDonnell Douglas in St. Louis, at McDonnell Douglas in Long Beach, and Northrop Grumman. And I had the most fun because I was working on classified projects. And it was also very enlightening because I found out just how many classified programs there were out there. There was little cutouts. And there were some, I was on several programs that there was only about 20 people in the whole company who knew anything about it, which was kind of interesting because one day I went into the program room and I saw all these gold badgers. And I thought, uh-oh, they're finally bringing in the brass. And so I said, I don't need to be here. So that was that. But I had more top secret clearances than you could shake a stick at. And anyway, so you can see that I'm pretty trustworthy. The other thing is, what do I think is the biggest challenge for the city? I think in one word, growth. When I came here, drove here, I saw McLendon-Chisholm 1373 or 1378, and I think, well, that's got to be, you know, history. I don't know what it is now, but it's probably 3 to 4 times that. And I want to be part of it. I was at the Mark's little presentation yesterday where we talked about the comprehensive plan. And I figured that with my background, I ought to be able to do something to help that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Moody?
Good evening. My name's Gary Moody. That's who I am. That's the first part of the question. Then what's my perspective do you think that I would bring to the council? History. Been around a while. Perspectives from failures. We've had failures, and we've had successes in our city as it grows. As far as being here and knowing the commitment for the time and being here, absolutely yes. And what is the biggest challenge facing McLendon-Chisholm? I could sit here and name a half a dozen, but the gentleman prior to me said it best. It's growth. It's purely growth. There's just so many dynamics that come into that you are challenged with, and you feel like it's coming from every direction. It's definitely growth. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Willis?
My name is Norman Willis. About 15 years ago, my wife and I decided we was going to get married, 17 years. Then we decided it was time for a home. What we did was we pulled up the top 5 school districts in the Metroplex. Of course, Rockwall was on it. When we looked at it, my wife being from Louisiana, is already a 4-hour drive. We looked at what would add to or delete from the drive with her travels back and forth. With that being said, we made Rockwall our home. We lived in Rockwall 9 years, 2006 to 2015. Then we was lucky we found Sonoma Verde. Sonoma Verde, I'm proud to say I was the 3rd contract on the table, 3rd to build. I took pride in that. When I first came to McLendon-Chisholm, not to be offensive, but I defined it as a horse and buggy town, but I saw the vision in terms of its growth and growing into a booming perspective. With that, being the 3rd contract on the table, I took the initiative. There was neighbors, I would see them come in and they would look at properties and I would ask them, do you know what's coming? Do you understand there will be a school? Do you know there's a vision for a church? Do you know there will be a daycare? Do you know there's a vision for other businesses within the community? Naturally, no one did. I think I sold more homes than the builders themselves. I never got paid for it. I never received a commission. But with that, I think the perspective I bring to the council is the ability to bridge gaps, the ability to be able to bring together the community, to be able to forge, create, and grow relationships. Don't mean to sound like a broken record, but I too believe the biggest challenge is growth. But that growth more in depth, I think, is a part of the vision. I think, again, with what I've seen take place in the last 6 years versus what was here, now with the highways expanding, I moved up here because I wanted more rule, right? Unfortunately, that's not the reality. And I think that growth is not something we can stop. I think it's something we have to control. And I think that if we are proactive and get ahead of it, that we can be able to grow with the growth so that we can all be successful.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, guys, it is 6:55. At this point in time, we're going to recess into executive session in accordance with Texas Government Code 551.074A1 for personnel matters, deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, resignation, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, which is actually appointment to fill a vacancy for Council Member Place 2, which we just heard the people that have put in for it. So, like I said, it is now 6:55. We're recessed into executive session. 7:10, we are back from executive session. There was no action taken during executive session. Let's see. Next thing is discussion and action regarding appointing a citizen to fill the vacancy for Council Member Place 2. First off, as a mayor, I want to thank all four of you for applying and putting your name in the ring that you want to serve the city. There was a lot of discussion back there on each and every one of you. What I do want to say is no matter who is selected tonight, I don't want you to give up on the city. There are other places within the city that we have vacancies, whether it's in, I can't tell you I remember where all our vacancies are, but we have the comprehensive plan group going on. We have P&Z, we have Board of Adjustments, and if you just want to call up here and talk to Miss Lisa and see if there's anything you can do to volunteer to help up here, I'm sure she would welcome you with open arms. You know, we try to do everything the best we can, but sometimes we can use an extra hand or two. So at this point in time, I will entertain a name from any council member that they may want to throw out there on who they'd like to see or recommend to the city council member Place 2C.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mr. Norman Willis to Council Member Place 2.
All right, I've got a motion for Mr. Norman Willis for the appointment to Council Member Place 2C. Do I have a second?
I'd like to second that.
I've got a motion, I've got a second. Is there any discussion?
No, I just think that after reviewing the resumes and listening to the discussion today, I think it'll be a real benefit having Mr. Willis on board. I think he'll be actually, if he's appointed, he'll be here longer than any of us right now. He'll be our longevity. I think his relationship with the citizens of Sonoma Verde will also be a big plus for our city council.
Okay, I've got a motion, I've got a second, I've got discussion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Show that unanimous. Mr. Willis, if you will come up to the front. Thank you very much. And again, I want to thank each and every one of you that put your name in the ring. You know, the hardest step is to step up and put your name in the ring. And y'all did that, and I'm very proud of you. Thank you.
I state your name. I, Norman Willis. Do solemnly swear. Do solemnly swear. That I will faithfully execute. That I will faithfully execute. The duties of the office. The duties of the office. City Council Member Place 2. City Council Member Place 2. Of the state of Texas. Of the state of Texas. And will to the best of my ability. And will to the best of my ability. Preserve, protect, and defend. Preserve, protect, and defend. The Constitution and laws. The Constitution and laws. Of the United States. Of the United States. And of this state. And of this state. So help me God. So help me God.
Norman,
you're going the wrong way. You don't get to get sworn in and leave. You got to come up here and work now, brother.
It's not like a job where I can get two.
No. We're going to put you to work right away. All right. Yes, congratulations, sir. All right, we're going to move on to 5.9. It's a presentation from our representative from Kimberly Horn regarding our latest city survey. This is just like some nights we have our gremlins and our IT side of things. While they're working on getting that together, guys, don't forget, Saturday from 10 to 2 is a community forum here at the City Hall. And this is the ongoing thing about taking part in creating McLendon-Chisholm's future by stopping by the open house during that time frame, 10 to 2 on Saturday. Hi.
Good
You ready?
evening, Mayor and City Council and newly elected council member and, well, appointed and elected, so welcome. So I stand before you tonight talking about the community survey. And this community survey, it will be distributed. But wanted to kind of go over some high-level things with you this evening, kind of recap a little bit about where we've been, where we're going. Just a couple of notes on the survey before I get rolling on these slides. It is a report, but it is a summary report. So you might, as you're flipping through, want more detail on certain things. It is a summary report. So thousands of comments were analyzed and looked over, and this is just meant to be kind of a general representation of those comments. So as we move forward, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Once you kind of dig into it, you might have more questions. We're going to have the community forum on Saturday. That's a great time to get more questions answered on the community survey report if you have some then. I'm going to be there the whole time, and also staff from Kimley Horn as well, who also worked on the survey report. So just throwing that out there. So let's see. So our timeline so far, we started this process in March. One thing that's not shown on here is that we did have our first Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee meeting, our CPAC meeting. We've got our CPAC chair, member of CPAC in the audience. So did have that meeting as well. And we're going to be meeting with them 2 more times throughout the process. The community survey ran for a few weeks between March and April and had a fantastic response rate. Going to talk about that more in a second. Stakeholder interviews took place in April, but with the additional community forum, we're also adding 3 more stakeholder interviews, so those will be scheduled and upcoming. The existing conditions memo and the survey report will both be posted this month. Survey report, looking to post that this week in advance of the community forum on Saturday. So this is our general planning process. What this shows is that we are trying to have the draft plan adopted by September. And so we are on a very tight schedule to get that done. So it might seem fast, but the momentum is actually really beneficial to the engagement process. Keeps people engaged. It doesn't drag on for 2 years. And we can really keep that momentum going. So we are in the process. So here's our survey overview. Going to just highlight a couple of items here. By the numbers, you had 343 responses. For McLendon-Chisholm's population, that's very, very high. You can hear by the election results and how many people voted, kind of a general level of civic participation in the community of this size. This is a very high rate of response. So don't let that number fool you. It is statistically significant. Themes that emerged. This is not a statistical analysis. This is kind of our gauge from reviewing the thousands of comments. So infrastructure and utilities. People really want a grocery store locally. And rural country feel and open space. People really treasure the green space. We're going to talk about these themes more in a second. Lack of shopping and dining, people see that as an opportunity to provide more commercial uses. Growth, planning, and development. This spans a couple of categories, so I'll give you some more insights to that in a second. Public spaces and trails. People really want a place to gather, but also they feel like a place to gather would contribute to a sense of community. And they're interested in trails as well for recreational purposes and exercise. Public safety, we heard the improvements to the fire department have been really well received, and that's true, both in equipment and facilities and staffing. Taxing and spending, people really want bang for their buck. So we want to be good fiscal stewards, and that came through in the survey. Events and entertainment, people are looking for more to do, but also more things on the city side that can bring people together. We've heard through the stakeholder interviews and through the survey and through CPAC even, that, we have these different neighborhoods and people are looking to connect as a city and not just separate neighborhoods, and really looking for a space and events to bring people together. Traffic in State Highway 205, very big theme that came out of the survey. People do not like the traffic on State Highway 205. It is not only very annoying, but it's also something that they feel is going to be a threat to McLendon-Chisholm moving forward if it's not done right and addressed in a timely manner by TxDOT. So I know we have an additional touch point in the comprehensive plan process to go through that. And have a focus group with TxDOT and really put McLendon-Chisholm's foot forward into that conversation and make sure that we're pushing it as far as we can on the design side. And then downtown, I think this was one of the most surprising things that popped out of the survey for me, was just the number of comments about a downtown. I think a lot of people think of that as State Highway 205 and kind of the older structures there, but people want more commercial uses, but specifically mentioned a downtown. So whether that's a Main Street type downtown or maybe a node somewhere, people are looking for that city heart, city center, and lot sizes. So that is last but not least. There were lots of comments about lot sizes and residential development, and what people want to see moving forward. So I'll dig into that here in a second. Respondent demographics, 90% of respondents live in McLendon-Chisholm. 88% of respondents are 35 or older. Male and female responses are roughly equal, which is actually not normal. Typically, we see a lot more females take the survey than males, even though they're free from gender bias because they're available. But what we found in the surveying industry is that a lot of times females will take the survey for the household. So it's just the way it is. But it was good to see the even breakdown between the genders. And then 63% of respondents moved into the town in the past 6 years. I cannot highlight this enough. This is a significant in-migration to this city. So this is, a very high growth dynamic, but it's also reflective of national trends, international trends. This doesn't necessarily mean new lots. Sometimes people have moved in with a family member, and especially with COVID hitting and all this stuff, there's been a lot of shifting in economics and jobs and all sorts of things. So we need to look at that number critically and not necessarily understand that it's not necessarily new lots in McLendon-Chisholm, that there's been some shifting in households as well. And then nearly 50-50 split of residents with and without children living in the home. Some respondents did mention that they have grandkids that come to visit and whatnot, so they're looking for a park or something like that. So just a note there. Communication preferences. Email newsletter was number one most likely to use. Facebook number 2, and city website or text messages number 3. A lot of times we do see Facebook number 1 now, but email newsletter, that's kind of unique for McLendon-Chisholm. Every once in a while we'll see that. But people are interested in receiving communication via email newsletter. So that's something to note moving forward, is that people are looking for those updates via email. Levels of satisfaction, over 80% satisfied or very satisfied, 92% if neutral is included. This is very, very high. So level of satisfaction overall in McLendon-Chisholm is very high. Want to highlight that. It is very significant. Your number is high for level of satisfaction overall. And then more respondents feel that McLendon-Chisholm has trended worse in the last 5 years, however, citing concerns of traffic, utilities, new housing, et cetera. So we can talk about the weaknesses here in a minute, but although the level of satisfaction is high, when we asked about changes in the last 5 years or so, that's when that number got a little bit different. We did do a crosstab analysis to try to see if there was a correlation between changes in the last 5 years or so and length of tenure in the city, and it was not consistently correlated. So one of those lengths kind of moved up in the list, and there was a little bit there, but generally speaking, level of satisfaction is higher with the changes in the last 5 years or so with those newer residents. So maybe they're used to what they bought here and that dynamic. We can speculate, but we did see a little bit of a trend, but not statistically
So
significant.
could you clarify that a little
Yep.
bit for me? So most of the respondents have lived here 6 years or less,
63%, I think, was the
Yeah.
number. Yeah.
but they said that it trended worse in the last 5 years.
Changes within the last 5 years or so gets, like I said, it wasn't consistently significantly correlated, so I can't make a broad statement, but I did notice that those newer residents were more satisfied with the changes in the last 5 years or so than some of the other groups.
Oh,
It's kind of hard to state, but it wasn't consistent. Okay. Where are we? So levels of satisfaction with services. Areas with lowest satisfaction level were parks and rec, traffic, planning for future development, supporting economic growth. Satisfaction with infrastructure, generally low. Less than 50% reporting satisfied or very satisfied. Very high levels of neutrality. When we see this, it can mean that it's a positive, but it can also mean that people don't really know. So it's an opportunity to kind of inform people about who supplies the water, what's going on with State Highway 205, and, like just kind of a general, it reflects an information opportunity when we see high levels of neutrality like that, because people don't want to state their opinion a lot of times if they just feel like they don't have enough facts. Which is a good opportunity. And then highest levels of satisfaction were city facilities and drainage and flooding. Lowest were traffic and mobility, connectivity, and trails. So got some opportunities on the mobility side, but again, very satisfied with the new City Hall building and new fire station. People like those improvements. So this is strengths. I think, I've got the top 5 here. So rural country feel and open space, this is McLendon-Chisholm. People really identify this as a reason they moved here, a reason they enjoy it here. Encompasses lots of comments about small town feel, rural, green, lots of those types of things. The second one is large lot residential and low density. We are kind of characterizing that because there wasn't a consistent, there was some talk about 1 acre, 1.5 acre, but then some comments were just large lot, low density. So just kind of a note there that it was a large theme in strengths. And then public safety, including the new fire department upgrades, growth, planning, and development. People seemed generally pleased that McLendon-Chisholm is taking steps to plan the future. So several comments about planning for the future, which is great, as this is part of a comprehensive plan, but also they feel that there is opportunity with growth in some cases. And that, it seems like a hopeful dynamic, but there's also lots of positivity about planning. And then taxes. They feel like the low tax rate and that type of thing is a strength. Weaknesses. So infrastructure, and large themes about traffic and State Highway 205. You can see that we pulled out the State Highway 205 related tags. Sometimes sentiments got 2 tags. So it doesn't necessarily mean frequency. So we provide each comment 1 to 2 tags. So sometimes they just belong with 2 things. Sometimes they belong with 5 things. And we pick the 2 that really stick with it the most. So a lot of those infrastructure comments did relate to State Highway 205 specifically. Comments about water supply, water pressure, sewer, and all sorts of those types of comments. So big opportunity there to not only share the story of who's responsible for what, but also options that the city has moving forward and how much it costs to pay to upgrade that infrastructure and what that looks like. Land use mix and lack of commercial. People want a grocery store. So that was a big theme throughout the categories. A grocery store that's local. Also, those downtown kind of comments, people just from HEB to Brookshires to, I mean, just all different ideas. People want somewhere to eat, somewhere to hang out. Really looking for a diversification of land use is what we see on the planning side. So although some people are not so keen on that, we did see that as a top theme, and weaknesses is that there wasn't a lot of commercial. Growth, development, and planning. We caught a lot of fear in this tag. People are fearful of what growth means to McLendon-Chisholm and maybe losing some of what's special, like the green spaces. And so from a planning perspective, we're really trying to pick up on what the fear is about growth and maybe some solutions that we can put in place to manage that and really protect what's special. So watching that very closely. And then smaller residential lot sizes, higher density, they see that as a weakness, some people. And some of the comments were specifically related to Sonoma Verde and how that is inconsistent with what they would like to see moving forward. Lots of comments about large lot residential, but then still some other people recognized that housing diversity and commercial, there's kind of conflicting. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. And then State Highway 205 related. Got a little conversation bubble there. There's a disconnect on requests for things people want to see and funding. So we really picked up on that just across the survey about we want, X, Y, and Z, but then we also don't want A, B, C. So I think that's one of the things that we would like to talk about. I don't know what just happened. Moving forward is kind of that disconnect and how to bridge the gap between what people are looking to see and what those scenarios look like. Here, I'll just pull up my report.
Did you say what the people want in funding for those things?
Funding, but also, just land use changes and what it would take to get there.
Sure I heard you right.
Yeah. So moving on to opportunities. Number one opportunity was land use mix and more commercial. So people very excited about capturing some of the opportunity for growth here, especially with people commuting to and fro on State Highway 205. There's, from a planning perspective, we're looking at the amount of sales tax leakage that you'll have by not having the commercial tax base. So really just watching for that and seeing what the community is going to want and what that vision looks like. Do we want not a lot of commercial? Do we want more commercial? And kind of mediating those two things. The second is amenities and parks and recreation. So people looking for that public space to gather, looking for more events, looking for trails, playgrounds, and just little things that they can take the family to or recreate, and public space for events. Infrastructure is the third opportunity. So mobility improvements, road improvements, water supply improvements, water pressure improvement, you name it. So lots of on the infrastructure side. Number 4 is grocery store. So people looking to have a place to shop for groceries locally. And then the fifth one there on opportunities is rural, country feel, open space. So that same tag that carried through from strengths is also an opportunity. If we can really preserve that moving forward, people think that's a big opportunity in McLendon-Chisholm. I don't know if it'll advance. Okay. Threats. I am getting older by the minute. I could not even see that. So number one is infrastructure. It's like it's a theme, but infrastructure is a top threat identified. So drainage, roads, traffic. If we don't address it, we feel like that's going to negatively impact McLennan-Chisholm moving forward. Second is smaller residential lot sizes and higher density. One thing that we picked up on this category is it seemed like a lot of people kind of stated the lot size preference that they wanted, but there wasn't kind of an explanation as to why. So that's one of the things, and I'll talk about that here in a second, is from a planning perspective, we're really trying to figure out what that lot size dynamic is and what we're trying to preserve so that we make sure that that vision really has solutions that you guys need to preserve what you're looking to preserve. And then the third threat is overdeveloping and overpopulating. So people really looking to preserve that space that you were talking about in your statements about why you chose McLennan-Chisholm and not just the school district, but people have moved here for that space and looking to maintain that feeling. And then number 4 is unmanaged growth or lack of planning. Hopefully we're tackling some of that with this process. So people really are interested in things being strategic and planned. And then State Highway 205 related, people just are concerned about the traffic and if that's not addressed, but improvements are pending. So initial areas to look into more. Really want to dig into trade-offs and scenarios between expectations, funding, amenities, housing, etc. There seems to be a disconnect between what's wanted versus things to put in place to achieve them. So we really need to figure out what we want before we figure out how to get there. And so that's what we need to make sure that we tackle, through the community forum processes. What are we trying to achieve before we state what the solutions are? So I think that's one of the things that, we'll be looking to you guys for direction and to CPAC for direction is, here's what we've heard we want to preserve or change. And then now let's talk about the solutions that fit, regardless of kind of other things. And then the second thing is the desire for rural country feel and green space or open space and what solutions can achieve those in the coming years. So I think we briefly talked about, some of the things that we see on the planning side that can preserve that rural country feel. And so if that is something that we're looking to preserve, then we've got ideas for how you can do that. Mobility priorities. Mobility came through strong. And just looking at, how trails can contribute to not only recreation, but also commuting, or how we want to make sure that you don't have to get into the car for every single trip. So just some of those concepts we can talk about. Commercial development and master plan communities really sensed some fear on the survey, but also significant support for commercial development and planning things. So what does that mean for McLendon-Chisholm, and what do we want in our vision for commercial development specifically, and also how we treat these large tracts of land? We have a lot of communities that can come in the ETJ that the city doesn't really have a whole lot of leverage. You've got, the state of Texas where they can make a special district, a MUD, if the city pushes too hard. And so, you've got this balance that you have to try to get what you want, but also if you push too hard, they'll just stay in the ETJ and not come in and pay taxes. So having those conversations is something that we can do. And then vision that addresses concerns with customized and best solutions. So figure out what the vision is and then figure out what the solutions are. That's kind of what we're looking to dig into more. Want to talk through that, as we go along here. Next steps, I do want to end with this before we get into discussion. We're having the community forum in person this Saturday from 10 to 2 right here in this room. So everybody can come to that. It's come and go. There's no presentation. There's no anything. So we really just like people to come in, make the loop, participate. We like to design for a 15-minute loop. So you can come in and go within 15 minutes, but you could also stay for 45 minutes to an hour if you really wanted to roll up your sleeves and dig into the different topics that we're going to be talking about. And then online from May 17th to May 23rd, not going to be the same exact thing. It's going to be complementary in a lot of ways, so you can do both. And then, again, aiming for that September adoption. So with that, happy to answer any questions. I do have stuff up here, but if we get too detailed, remember there's thousands of comments. So I'll do my best to respond if you have some technical questions.
Norman, you have any questions? I don't. Brian? Trudy? Okay. Daniel?
No, sir, not at this point.
Norman?
So at what point will you be coming to us? What's the first time you'll be coming to us then as a council to go over what the CPAC and your studies have determined? You know, this is what people want. This is how we suggest you're going to go about it. When does that occur? Is that in June and July? Or?
So this is our second meeting. Definitely can discuss any feedback you have tonight. Hopefully you guys will all come to the community forum on Saturday, and we can discuss that more at that time as well if you guys attend. And then we'll be looking at draft concepts and highlights here shortly, June, July, I think it's scheduled. Don't quiz me on the timeline.
I think that's what it said.
Yeah. But yeah, it'd be June, July for vision statement is what we would be heading towards. That's a key process point for us is going to CPAC for that draft vision statement. CPAC will make a recommendation at that time for you guys to, this is the vision statement we all agree on. And there have been times where we bring just a little gray area to council from CPAC if there's a decision to be made. But that should be coming up June, July for the vision statement.
I have a question. You said that we'll have on Saturday, we'll have the in-person, but between the 17th and the 23rd, it's going to be on the computer, online. And so you said there is a difference between the two presentations? And
Yeah.
what's significant one versus the other?
So the in-person format really, we have different exercises for different topics. So for example, there's going to be a mobility prioritization exercise where we have 8 different priorities and you can vote with coins. So you can put all of your money into one jar or you can divide it amongst 8, however you see fit. So that's an example of something that we'll have in person. Online, we're really going to be looking at a number of different things. We're going to have an interactive map. So some things are better suited for the online format than in person. So that's an example of something that's going to be online that won't be in person, is you can actually drag your pin and say, I like this spot, or this spot I can never turn left, whatever. So they're going to be complementary. We will have some of the boards that we have at the in-person community forum up online as well. And online gives us a little opportunity, I haven't tested this with Lisa and Marquette, but gives us a little opportunity to make a video as well, so people can just view it at their leisure, and it's going to have some of the same content as the in-person.
So will you promote the online event as well during the Saturday? Because it sounds like it would be beneficial to do both to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have 2 Facebook events up right now. One is for the in-person version and one is for the online version. So if you respond interested or going to the online version, it'll remind you and that comes up too. But yes, we're promoting both.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hope to see you Saturday.
Here.
All right. We'll move on to number 6, updates, discussion, and direction to staff. Ms. Trudy, do you have anything? Okay. Brian?
It was just about ready. The holdup is myself. Just having not been reviewing every section of it. We're also testing it with the implement software. We look to launch the 2 at the same time. So that's also been an issue is I think we could get one just right and then because we tested with the other one and there might be something that's a little bit off. So those kind of
Ms. Horner?
The P and Z and BOA vacancies will be coming up in June, I think, so will we be putting out a call to the people that are up for renewal to see if they want to get reappointed, and will that get an agenda item fairly shortly? Or?
It should be.
Yes, in fact, I probably should have made a note of the mayor's making an announcement that we'll start accepting those applications anytime. If he wants to go ahead and put that in. So we'll advertise on the website, Facebook, and then certainly the next meeting we can start pushing that. And we'll have a list of, who is up for, whose term is up, and maybe by then we'll know who's not interested in reappointment.
So you're going to send them letters, okay?
I can't think of anything. I know we're going to have another meeting before the end of the month because Memorial Day's coming up. What time on Memorial Day?
At 1 p.m.
1 p.m. on
It'll be
Memorial Day?
inside, and then we'll go outside. That
Okay.
way we'll plan for bad weather, and it'll be beautiful.
Yep. So, just remember that's coming up. As far as council member reports, we really don't have anything. I am going to say, for those of you that are listening or here in the audience, Brian wasn't with us last meeting because he's a brand-new newlywed, and he was gone on his honeymoon, but we welcome him back.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. But if you see the pictures of him at the Kentucky Derby, yes, they lost his suitcase. We'll leave it at that. Just so you understand the inside joke, he wore a plaid jacket at the Kentucky Derby, and I've been giving him a hard time about that. He did well with it. He did well with it. Like we've said a couple of times, we've got the community forum this Saturday. If you can attend, please do. I can't think of anything else, and it is now 7:48. We've covered everything on the agenda. Meeting adjourned. You're welcome, buddy.